Hello. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Premier Chess Academy's weekly learn along series. So today we are going to see and learn about pawn and games. Like last time also, uh, Evan sir came and also we learned about that. But today we are going to learn about uh, king pawn versus king pawn endgame mainly. Also, we are going to see the opposition, the importance of oppositions, and with that also, if we can cover, we will surely cover the queen versus pawn endgame. So we are just waiting for all to join. Okay, so let's start. Now, as you can see that there are like here there are two kings on the chessboard. So what we are going to do is we are going to first see about uh, the oppositions. So there are mainly three types of opposition on the board. One is horizontal opposition. Second is vertical opposition. And diagonal opposition. Okay. Now, what is opposition exactly? Now, opposition means like when two kings are in front, like in face to face with each other, like uh, like this in this current position, as you can see, these two kings are in like face to face with each other. Now you can see that white played the last move. So these squares which the both kings are sharing with each other. Now these squares, on these squares, the black king is having full control because now it is uh, black, like it is like white played the last move. So in this three squares, white king is having full control over it. And now it is black to play. So black cannot come forward. It has to go sideways or backwards. Okay. Now this type of opposition is called as horizontal opposition when like the sharing squares are in the because of the sharing square are in the rank. Similarly, when the kings are in face to face each other in the file like this. Now here black played the last move, so it is now white to play. So white king cannot go forward like here, like in the file. It has to go sideways or backward, and this opposition is called as an vertical opposition. Similarly, we'll see about the diagonal opposition. If you see like this, now this opposition is called as a diagonal opposition. It's face to face, sharing one square, sharing one square in between. Now whichever side is to play will lose the opposition. Let's just say king is playing here, white king is going here, and black king played the last move. So here the opposition is with the black king. And one special case for the opposition is distance opposition. Or you can say distant opposition. Okay, what is that? Now, distant opposition is the opposition which these two kings are kings will share, like let's just say here. Okay, now it is white to play. White plays here in this move, and black plays this move. White played this move. Now the two kings are sharing the square. Like the number of the squares are odd. The like black played the last move, so it is white to play. And whatever white will do, black will take the opposition. Like if white plays forward like this, black will take the opposition here. But just here and here. So you can say that the black king is having a distant opposition of the white king. So these are the basic things for this and very much important thing for the pawn endgame. So we'll see in the upcoming positions how these oppositions are very much important in the game. Let's just switch to the next position, and this is the basic one. Now it is white to play here, and you can see that the white king and black king are like the opposition is with the black king because it is white to play. White king cannot take entry because the king is taking black king is taking black king is having the opposition. Now white king has to move sideways. Uh, so what do you think, guys? Which is the best? What is the best move for the black king here in this position? For black, what is the best move? Like what should black play here to make sure that the game will end in a draw? Because like white is having an extra pawn, so white is aiming to promote the pawn into the queen and win the game. For black, black need to make a draw. So what do you think? What should black do here? Okay. So let's just say if black is playing king e6. Okay. So what you are doing is you are allowing this white king to take the entry. Now, if white king is take the entry, now white king is taking the opposition, and this is vertical opposition that white king is taking. And now this pawn will have a passage to promote. So what should black do here is just keep taking the opposition, not to give any chance for this white king to take entry, right? So king c7, take the opposition, not give any chance to go forward for this white king. If king goes on d5, then again go on d7, e5, then again go on e7, f5, then again you can go f7. Also, you can play king d6. Both are fine. Okay, here you will just keep taking the opposition, and if the pawn goes on d5, now you know as you know that you'll just uh, play king d7. And now the very much important thing is to to promote this pawn, this king should be ahead of the pawn, right? So this king and pawn are like beside each other. So this position is a draw. Let's just say it is white to play. White will play the pawn again, and you will just go back. Remember, one thing is very much important. Do not make a move in which you will give the opposition to your opponent. Let's just say you're playing the king to e8, correct? And the king is playing on e6. Now you'll see that the opponent king has taken the opposition, and if you'll go king d8, then pawn will just come on d7, and you have to go on c7. There are no other ways that you can move, and white king will take the square which he desires to take, and next is queen for sure. So what will you do instead is you just stay behind the pawn, not to go like either ways. Just stay behind the pawn, wait for your opponent king to come forward. When it does, you'll just simply take the opposition, pawn push, king goes in, and king d6 is a stalemate draw. Now, if you see in the second scenario in this position, let's just say king goes on d8 and white is playing on d5. Now you just simply do not go either ways. Just simply stay behind the pawn till the king comes up forward. And when king comes up forward, you just simply take the opposition. So that the like pawn promotes, you'll just go in and it will become a stalemate. So must remember thing in the pawn endgame, if you are on the only king side, to make a draw, you have to stay behind the pawn and take the opposition. Do not give opposition to your opponent, and you might have chances to make the game a draw. Let's check about the next position. Now it is black to play in a similarly way, like black is winning the game here. As you can see that the black king is very much forward for this. So it is black to play. And what do you think, guys? Like what should black play here in order to win the game? Like the pawn is marching forward on the white side. So what we are doing is we are seeing all the positions from now on, like on from the white side only. So it will be easier for us to understand. Okay. So it is black to play. What do you think? What should black play here? Okay, what if the king moves anywhere else? In the previous position, if you're talking about to like if the king moves anywhere else, let's just check. In this previous position, if you're talking about what if the king move anywhere else, like let's just say king to c5 and king c7, pawn push, king d7, pawn push. You stay behind the pawn. If the king goes anywhere else, then you just simply intending to capture that pawn, right? But like yeah, the basic instant is like where the when the two kings are on the chessboard, it will be a draw. So the basic thing is you'll just attack on the pawn. So king will come to save the pawn. That's for sure. If it doesn't, then you'll just simply take the pawn and it's a draw, right? So you simply attack on the pawn, but stay behind the pawn so that the opponent king cannot take the opposition. So let's go back to the position. Yes, king g4 is the move here. Again, in order to win the game is also like you have to take the opposition. Do not push the pawn forward, as well as like it will give chance for to your opponent to take the opposition. And when it does, you have to go backwards, like you cannot go forward now. You can go with the pawn, but now the basic rule of the king pawn endgame, that you have to make the king forward. Like you cannot go. You have to keep your king forward. You cannot like the pawn cannot be beside the king or also like ahead of the king. Like there is a special case of the fifth rank, but I think so you might have seen it in the previous learn along series. So g3. So the first move here is to take the opposition. King to g4. King goes on f2, and now once we took the opposition, king moved away, and then we slightly take the entry. So what we're doing is with the king is we are making a path, a passage for this pawn to come forward, and so that like we are escorting this pawn to promote, like to the promoting square where the pawn can promote. Okay. So king goes on f3. check, king up on f2. Now here, in order to win the game, the last move, what should black play here in this position? King goes on f2. What should black play here? Should black push the pawn to g3 or move the king to h2? What will you do? Will you push the pawn to g3 or move the king to h2? Yeah, king will come to h2, and the white king cannot now, like, black king took the opposition and also create the safe passage for this uh, black pawn to go to g1. Now, wherever the white king goes, he'll just simply push the pawn to the queen, and there is the queen on the board. Or you can also make the rook if you love the, like, if you love your opponent to wait on the chessboard. Okay. Now, if pawn g3, then king again goes to g1. So, and now, okay, yeah, you can do this both of things. King h2 and next to king. Let's move to the next position. So this is the case of the rook pawn. In the end game, where when you have king pawn king end game, and when you have the rook pawn on the board, most of the times it is a draw when the opponent king is able to reach to the corner, like here. Here is it is a special case where the king is also black king is also corner, but black king has to move from there in order to make space for this pawn to make a queen. But now it is white to play. What should you play here? Like, what do you think? What will white play in order to make this game a draw? Because black has an extra pawn. If white allows a safe passage like king e2 and something like that, then black will simply move king g2 and pawn push h2 and h1 a queen. So what do you think? What should white play here? So we should not give safe passage for this black king to move up away. White to play. What will you do? Yep. King f2, king f2, and king h1, and you'll just simply take the opposition again and again. You'll not allow this black king to escape from the corner, because if you'll allow, then the king pawn will just simply push up, and black will win the game. So this is okay. Let's move into the next position. This is white to play. This is also a draw, because here the pawn is far from this king. Yeah, the pawn is far from the king, and whatever white will do, like let's just say white is playing the move h6, and then also it will become a draw by king f7, and then again the same case that we have seen in the previous position, but in the, like, it is in the different color. If white is like playing on king g8, then again it is a draw, because black king will just simply attack on the pawn on h5 and will capture him next. Okay, moving to the next position. So this is white to play. What do you think? What will happen? Like, will white be able to win the game, or it is a draw? What do you think? White is winning, or black is able to make a draw? What do you think, guys? Okay, Marwan is saying draw. Okay, so it is white to play. Now you'll see that this is the this is the rook pawn. So the first move is, yes, king g4 is the first move for the white side, and black will try to go into the corner. What white should keep in the mind is black, like, what white should keep in the mind is black should not or cannot, like, white has to stop black to go into the corner. That's it. White has to just, make one thing sure, that black king will not reach to the corner. You have to take the opposition before, so that the uh, king will block the opponent king. Now let's just say king g4, king c5, king g5. This is the distance opposition in the vertical manner. King goes on d6, and you can just simply take the opposition here, king d5, and push the pawn to h4, because, like, you have to take your pawn with your king. Otherwise, king will just go forward and pawn will get captured behind. Pawn push, pawn push, pawn push. I will stop the black king to breach on the like in the last move. King g7, king e7, pawn push h7, and the queen here. So this happened only because this black king was far from the corner. This black king is far from the corner. Let's just say black king is here near, like, on d6 or any other square, like on e6. Now the black king would have reached the corner very soon, and this game would have been ended in a draw. Because of this, black king is far from the corner, like from the queening square corner, so that the white king got chance to block the king, like, first, right? Okay, let's move to the next position. Uh, so after seeing the king pawn king endgame, we are moving towards the king pawn versus king pawn endgame, where you can see that the two pawns are in front of each other like this, and it is white to play. The similar thing that we learn about the opposition and take the entry will also work here. We have to make sure that we capture that d6 pawn, and we'll try to make this pawn a queen, which bishop force here on d5 for white. So it is white to play. What do you think? What should white play here? Yes, nice. King a6, take the entry. You're taking the entry, and you're blocking the black king to come forward. King a6, king d7, king b6, king e7, king c7, and next you'll just capture the king, or capture the pawn, and black plays king d8. Now, what do you think? Is it a draw? Like, because black took the opposition, is it a draw, or white can still win here? And if white can still win here, just what will you do here in this position, white to play? Yes. So white will simply win here. Just move the king. It is a special case when the pawn is on fifth rank. You can just move the king, and when the king moves away, take the opposition. Yeah, just push the pawn to d6. King goes on d8, and then pawn push again on d7. King goes on c7. We took the opposition and make this pawn uh, queen. Hmm. Moving towards the next position. Uh, okay. This is uh, it is white to play. What do you think? What will happen? White winning, white losing, black can take the win, or what? Or is it draw? A draw, or white can win, or black can win? What is it? Yes. So the main thing here is you will not like to go towards the towards your pawn here, because in a way, like, black will just simply come here on e3. Take the opposition also will attack on the pawn. You have to go backwards, and your opponent will just take the pawn and will take the victory. I think so. It is still a draw when you take the opposition, but yeah, you will not take any chances, right? The main move here is king b4 is also can be played. King e3, king c3, take the opposition. King f4, or black king can also go on e4. Then you'll go backwards on c2. If takes, then take the opposition, and it is a draw. King is goes to e2, king goes to d2 back. You'll just keep taking the opposition, not to just uh, do not let this king come forward. Make this pawn come forward, and if the pawn comes forward on d4, I'll go on d2. Pawn goes on d3. Go back, stay behind the pawn till the opponent will make a move forward, like either on e3 or c3. When the king comes forward and these two squares, then only you'll take the opposition, and then only you will go out. Otherwise, you just stay behind the pawn. King d4, king d2. Whatever black will do, just stay behind the pawn. Don't go back. This is the safest way that I'm telling you. King e3, king e1, pawn push check, king goes back on d1, and it's a draw that we saw in the previous position. So this thing, like, in at last, like, when the pawn is like when black is capturing the pawn, white's pawn, the position of the pawn of black is behind. And let's just say the same position, but here on this squares on e4 on e3. Now this would have been a win for black, because pawns are like this pawn is forwarded, like this pawn is ahead than the previous position, and then pawn can come, like, this is a special case of the, like, in the fourth rank, and then black can pawn make the queen. This one, this is easy. Okay, so here it is white to play in this position, and white to play think white can make a draw. What do you think? What should white play here? White to play and draw. This is all magic of opposition. You have to take control. You have to understand when and where to take the opposition, how to create position like that, so that opponent is forced to capture, and you can take the opposition. Okay. Okay, king a2. If you play king a2, then that is like pawn push b4 simple, and you have to go backwards, and then king takes, and then it's a simple winning position for black. So king a2 will not work, I'm afraid. King a2, simple pawn push b4, and you have to go backwards, like you don't have any other move. Okay, king c1. King c1 is also like king c1, king will take the b3 pawn. King goes on back on b1. Again, I'll just simply take a tempo here on b4. King goes back, I'll take entry, and then next I'll just make the queen by pushing the pawn forward simply. So the move here is the move b4. Now it's a quite surprising move. Why b4 is what you are doing, what you are trying to do is you are giving up a pawn for to take opposition of your opponent, and you see that the pawn is on the fifth rank, which is behind. So what will happen is when the black takes the pawn, king goes on b2 and took the opposition, and this is a similar case that we had seen previously, right? You'll just keep moving and take the opposition. When the pawn comes forward, just go back behind the pawn, forward, just go back, stay behind the pawn. And whatever black will do, just stay behind the pawn, don't come out. If king goes on a3, you just took the opposition, and a draw. Okay. Now, what will happen if black is not taking the pawn but just playing simple moves, like let's just say king b3 or somehow anything like that? You'll just keep on playing this king a1, king c1, and you'll wait for the black king to take the pawn. The moment the black king will take the pawn, you'll take the opposition, and the rest of it. This is white to play. What will you do here? What will you do? What do you think? Like, first of all, what will happen? And this is white to play. What do you think? What should white play here? Is it a draw or black is winning? Of course, white cannot win. Yes, because white don't have any pawns. So we have just only two options: a draw or black can win. Like, you have to think. What what will happen? Hello, king d2. Okay, I'm having the move king d2. Okay, king d2. King d2, black will simply play king d4, king e2, king e4, take the opposition, take the entry, and the next pawn push, pawn push, pawn push. King comes forward on f2. If king goes on e2, then again pawn push, and king goes on f2, and the queen. So king d2, you are inviting black to take opposition. When you're coming, when you're going forward, you are inviting black to, like, okay, black, come take the opposition of mine, and I'll have to lose, like that. So you will not invite your opponent to take come and opposition. What you'll do, you'll fight for the opposition. You'll not give the opposition to your opponent very quite easily. If you do so, then like winning game also uh, converted into a draw, or also like the losing game also the converted into a victory or a draw. Now here it is white to play. What white plays here is an interesting move. White plays the move king e1. Now, now you see that the king cannot go on e5, cannot continue to take distant opposition where he was taking. Now you'll see that there is a distance between two kings are of three squares, and this is a distant opposition taken by the black king. So here it is white to play. Either if you move your like your king e2 or d2, wherever you go, black is happy to take the opposition and happy to take the entry for again and a safe passage for this pawn creating by black. So what should we play here? Not giving opposition that easily. We'll just simply play king e1, a silent move, a silent move by king e1. Uh, if king goes on e4, then we'll just simply take the opposition, and because of this, we'll just keep taking the opposition because black is not having any tempos left. Black has to play the pawn comes forward. We'll just stay behind the pawn, and again the same case like we were seeing in the different previous positions. We saw the similar case also happened here. King e1, and let's just say king is not coming on e4, and you might think like, okay, what will happen if the king goes on d4? There also then also you'll just simply take the opposition. You That's what you are waiting for, right? You're waiting for black king to come up so that you can take the opposition. If pawn comes forward, then we'll just simply play king e2 and stay behind the pawn as always as I said. Don't And when the king comes forward here on d3, we'll take the opposition on d1, and after pawn e2, king e1, it's a stalemate. So all in all, you will not invite the black king to take opposition. You'll wait. Because of this pawn on e5, it's a draw. If the pawn was on like back on e6 or somewhere else, it black could have win the game. Uh, Moving to the next position, we'll see slightly similar one. It is white to play. It is all white to play, and white can win here. But it is you have to take care about the black king. Black king should not take the opposition. So you have to be careful about the move. Uh, what are the moves of like of your in the mind? Can you type down the moves? What path should white king take? Like just say I'm making the path. You just type down the chat like what path should white king take, the like the color wise. Like white king has to come forward, like because if the pawns just simply runs away, like let's just say b5, king e7, b6, king d7, b7, king c7. So white pawn cannot uh, go forward alone. White has to keep the king with it to support the pawn. So what path should this king take? Like let's just say this path, king d2, king c3, king c4, or this path, king c2, king b3, king a4. Like what path should white king take? A red one or green one? You can just type down in the chat, red or green. Green one, yes. Green one is more safe because the king will be stay far from this black king. Now let's just say king goes on c2, king goes on e7, King goes on b3, on d6, on king goes on a4, and then on c6, and you are able to take the entry here, and the opposition next, and the entry again, and the king a6, and simply move forward. You made dream path for your dream path for your pawn in the process of making it to the queen. Take the opposition. You can take again. It's a special case for the pawn. You can just simply move the pawn push, and give support to the last square and make the queen. Now, what will happen if we took the red path? Let's just check what would have happened. King goes on d2, on c3, on c4, and if you all you can see that black is able to do a draw by taking the opposition on king c6, and now you'll see that the king and pawn are like both are together. The king is not forward, so that this game will end in a draw again. Like you have to go back, or you can push the pawn, but it doesn't matter like because it will become a draw. Black king will continue to take the opposition, and yeah, black king should it is it is hide it has to go on b8, like keep behind the pawn, and yeah, it's a draw. Next position. It is white to play. What do you think? What will happen? White to win. What should you play? Yes, king f6, of course. Not allowing by king going on king f7. Do not allow this black king to come forward and to be able to take the entry, and this is still a draw. So Mr. Babu said the correct move. Don't go king f7, because if you go king f7, then black king will have chance to take the opposition, and you are stuck in the corner. Like now your king cannot go out, and your pawn needs space to make the queen for sure. Like you cannot put your queen on the head of the king, so the king needs to go out, and that black king will not allow, right? So what you have to do is you have to first block the black king to come forward. King f6, and so king f6, king king e4, king e7, king f5, take it, and then go on g8, and you successfully went for your king on g8, and now the pawn push, and with the queen you'll win, right? Like with the queen. Okay, it is white to play, winning for white, but you need to think what should you play here for the white side. Should you play the pawn first, or should you play the king first? What do you think? Pawn or king? Just type down in the chat box. Will you play the pawn first, or will you play the king first? Okay, we have okay. So we have multiple answers. First is king, other is pawn. Okay, we'll see both of it. let's just say we are moving the pawn first forward. G4. Okay, let's just play, or I just show you by diagram. G4, green color is fine. Green color, we'll just take the green color. G4, C5, king C5, G5, king D5, G6, king E6, G7, king F7, and I'm so sorry, but your pawn is going to get captured, and the game will become a draw. So what you have to do is you have to, like, you cannot just push the pawn, because now you see, as the rule of the squares, it is 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5, and if you make the square out of it, and you see that the black king is in the square, and when the black king is in this rule of square, like the square, the black king will able to easily reach out to the pawn and will be able to capture it. So what you have to do is you have to just, keep your king with it. King b3, king c3, king d3, king e3, f3. Take the opposition on g3. When king goes back on h5, you just put your king on f4 and you take the entry. King goes back on g6. Again, take the opposition. Remember, do not hurry up into for playing the pawn, because you'll when you play the pawn will just beside the king, and it is not the ideal position for you. Just wait enough for your king to go forward enough, and when it does, you just simply push the pawn, move the king. Do not play the pawn. Do not put the pawn beside the king. Your king should always be ahead of your pawn. So you have to keep your king ahead of the pawn. Like king at 6, take the opposition. King goes on f7. Now push a pawn to g5, g8. Take the opposition, king g6, and you can just take the opposition again. Pawn push, pawn push. Oh, went wrong. Okay, so if the king goes in the corner, you can just go here on f7. King goes on h7, check, check, and a queen, and it will be easier. Sorry, my bad. That is the previously position. So that is also the main learning from that. If you will hurry, you will end up drawing your winning game, or also end up losing your winning game. So you do not hurry. You'll always think, don't play fast. Okay, next position. It is white to play and win. What do you think? What should white play here? So we are left with couple of positions here left, like last couple of positions. This is okay. It is white to play and with. What should you do? Yes, excellent, Mr. Babu. Impressive. Pawn b5. Push the pawn. Block these two squares for the take these two squares from away from this black king. Do not give any squares for the opponent king. King goes on b7. You will move the king forward now. Now, here is the important move. What will you do? What move will you do? Like will you do the red move, or will you do the green move? Red move or green move? What will you do? King e5 or king d5? Move the king next, but where is the question? On d5 or on e5? Very important position, like very important move here. A key move will give you either a win or a draw. Yeah, see, so the green is not always right in chess. Sometimes, like I can trick you. Uh, the move is king e5. If we go on d5, then black will take the opposition. Keep taking the opposition. You cannot go anywhere. Like you have to, play from the opposition. Where will you go? Then you cannot go here. You have to go backward. Then the king can come forward. So it is more dangerous for you because now the black king will successfully capture your pawn. So uh, you have to, keep moving the opposition. So the correct choice is uh, king to e5. A diagonal opposition we discussed about in very like in the first when we started this stream. This diagonal opposition, we are waiting for the king to come on d7, and then we'll take the opposition next. Take the entry, go forward, forward, capture the pawn, and it doesn't matter. In the fifth rank, it's a special case. You just push the pawn, and next is the queen. Okay, next we'll move forward for in the positions. Okay, we'll take the interesting positions from now on. Okay, let's take this one. This one. This is famous chess ending. This is like famous game, like famous position. I think so. You must have encountered. If not, let's just say you are encountering it now. It is white to play and make a draw. Now it is interesting that Black King is able to promote his queen in the next four moves, and also the king is very near for like of the pawn, and our king is far from the corner. But still, White can make this game a draw. What do you think, guys? What should White play here? The first move, like what do you think? Should White push the pawn or the king, or what? What do you think? Come on, guys. Any move? Okay, yeah. King g7 is the first move, correct? King g7, so we should not push the pawn. Like, okay, okay, Mr. Babu. If we push the pawn, king b7 will come and simply it will just take it in the next move, and we are far from the opponent king, and the opponent king will simply promote the pawn into the queen. So we'll make sure that we'll not move the pawn. We'll push the king to g7. King g7, and there are multiple options here. Like there are two options for black to play. So black can play the king to b6, and also black can play pawn to h4. Now we'll see them one by one. First, we'll see the move of the pawn because it is tempting. Like because everyone will love to promote the pawn as fast as they can. So pawn h4, again important move, king f6. If pawn goes on h3, then white king can simply go on e7, and now you can see that the white king is able to give support to the pawn next, like on c7, king d7, king d7, pawn push the queen, pawn push the queen. So both queens are queening at the same time. Here instead of pawn on h6, pawn on h3, let's just say the king is moving to b6. Now here is the main move of the position. What do you think? What should white play here? Should white go with the king on e6, or should white go with the king on f5, or should white go with the king on e5? Or this can work. Okay. Where should white go? e6, f5, or e5? Okay, waiting for a replies. Okay, king e5. Okay, interesting. Okay, king e5. So the thing is, if we'll go king e6, then we are late. We are very late. Black king will just simply take our pawn, and we are also very late on this side also, because the pawn will just simply come forward and make the queen. Even if the king goes on f5, then we are just leaving this pawn. Also, this pawn will promote. Also, we are also late here. So what we'll do, we cannot go either way, either this or that. We can just stay in the middle on both of the ways. If king captures on c6, then we can go f4, g3, and next we will be able to capture that pawn on h2. So we have to stay in middle. King e5 is the main move, and also it is a key move, a very important move uh, for of the game. In the started, I said like what we are going to see what will happen if the king moves and if the pawn moves. Let's just say king is moving to b6 first. Then also we'll just simply play king f6. If pawn captures, then we'll just we reached out to the pawn and by g5, and next we'll just simply capture the pawn. And if not capturing the pawn, plays h4. Again, the same similar position came. We have to go on e5, not going on e6 or f5. Just go on e5, stay in the middle. If captures, then we will be able to get to the pawn. And if not, and if promotes the pawn, then we will be able to get to our pawn to support it. Let's just say h6 and king d6, h7, pawn push. If queen, then you can also make the queen of yours, and it is a draw. And to the end the stream, I'll just show you one position to you guys. I'll just you can take the screenshot of this position. It is white to play and make this game a draw. Just take the screenshot of this position, solve the position. You can solve the position at home, or also you can just show it to your coach and tell him or to explain it to you. Just take the screenshot of this position, and you can solve it at home. It is white to play and draw. Right? I can just erase all the things. It is white to play, draw. Yeah. You'll think at home. So that's it, guide for today's stream in this learn along series. I hope you learn something and you'll take home a learning of the opposition, the understanding of opposition, and just subscribe to the Premier Chess Academy's YouTube channel and stay tuned for the upcoming new adventure series like this. Okay, bye.